All right, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tethered, my attempt at making a podcast here on the channel whilst we remain in this endless cycle of misery and darkness, which is, of course, lockdown in the UK. But I suppose on the bright side, it means I can give me an excuse to make these videos, these podcasts, and get to chat to some great people. And this week, I'm very excited to have on the indie projects. Now, you might not know who the indie projects are if you're not in that particular circle, because I don't just want photographers here on the show. I want a wide range of people who I look up to, people who I respect, and people whose content I really enjoy. And the indie projects certainly fall into that category. The indie projects are 𝐓𝐡𝐞 and 𝐵. They're a couple, and they practice what you might call alternative living. Basically, they just live completely freely. They travel and live full-time in a camper van, well, a small camper van, then a bigger camper van. There was also a narrow boat at one point, and now they live on off-grid land in Portugal. They're basically living the dream, and they've achieved this fantastic lifestyle. And I always say with photography that it's not necessarily about the image, but it's about what it gives you. Like, photography gives you an excuse to go out into nature, an excuse to explore, an excuse to roam and get creative. And they are living the photographer's dream. And actually, 𝐓𝐡𝐞 does enjoy photography himself, so it all comes together nicely. Now, I hope that you enjoy this podcast, and if you don't know who the indie projects are, then maybe you'll discover their content and learn that you absolutely love it, just like I do. And if you know the indie projects, then you're definitely going to enjoy this podcast. My God, because we talk about some stuff. I made some notes here. Well, we talk about, obviously, moving to Portugal. We both discuss quitting our jobs to become full-time creators. So we give a great insight into the life of being a creator. Believe it or not, it's not all happy, clappy, Instagrammy stuff. The pandemic has ripped everything away from those guys, and it really hurt them badly. We discussed that. Death threats. I received death threats. They received death threats. Apparently, it's common. So there you go. Violence. We talk about violence. I mean, yeah, it's mental, guys. If you're interested what it's like being a full-time YouTuber, sharing your life online, listen to this podcast, because it gets pretty dark, actually. We talk about travel, we talk about van conversion, so if you're interested in camper vans and van life, you're definitely going to love this podcast. We talk about Scandinavia, future trips, possible collaborations, van modifications and van accessories, a whole world of things. It was a fascinating conversation. It's amazing, actually, how much we both had in common. Especially with the animosity and the xenophobia that's certainly happened over the past 12 months. So it's really fascinating, guys. I'm going to stop waffling on, and I hope you enjoy the next hour, because we have a great conversation. Sorry, that was after 3. Right, all right, we're just going to get into it, because I'll just do the intro separately and then roll straight into this.
Cool.
So, great start. I almost called you 𝐓𝐶 and 𝐵𝐞. Right, so that's no good.
Yep.
That's actually our real names. So we changed them for the channel, didn't we? To 𝐵𝐞.
That's what I used to get called as a kid, 𝐵𝐞.
No, God, that's quite offensive. That's what people call me now. I've just given up showering since lockdown. It's like anything to do with self-hygiene has gone out the window, because I've literally got nowhere to be, nowhere to go.
Well, it's a good way to keep social distance.
We live off grid. We never even started, did we?
No. I mean, what's a shower? I haven't had one for about 10 years.
Yeah, and another thing that concerns me, and 𝐓𝐡𝐞, I don't mean to, I think we're in the same club here in terms of, are the barbershops open in Portugal? Because they're not in the UK. Everyone I speak to wears a hat.
It's imminent that B's going to pull out
I'm going to have to. I've been threatening him with the trim job. It's been a while, and it is getting a little bit out of hand now.
Yeah, it's just, I think I'm just going to go bold, completely bold, and brave it.
Well, I haven't resorted to wearing a cap indoors yet, but I think that might be the next stage. Either that or some sort of headband to hold it back. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I said
tennis vibes.
Yeah, right. I said in previous videos, I look like a cross between Fall Out Boy and the Beatles. So, it's not good. Anyway, we should try and pull something together in terms of context. So for anyone who's watching this that don't know who you are 𝐵 and 𝐓𝐡𝐞. And I've followed you guys on YouTube for as long as I can remember. We must be going on for 6 years now. And
Yeah.
essentially,
Same,
for me trying to sum it up, but you guys will obviously do a much better job than this. You guys, you pretty much practice alternative living. And people might be thinking, well, Tom, why have you got these guys on your channel, which is a photography channel? But the whole idea behind this show, which is called Tethered, which is my little podcast, the whole idea is I just want to talk to people who I really respect and look up to, and who are doing things the right way and who've achieved a lot. And Theo, I know you're into photography.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, I always say that photography for me is, daft as it sounds, is not about the photograph. It's about everything that photography gives you, and a big part of that is freedom, a great excuse and a great reason to get out and explore and travel, and a camper van. And you guys are massively into the whole van life scene.
Yeah, massively.
So, if you can, in
Yes.
30 seconds, what has happened in the past 6 years?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. So
a lot.
We sold all our stuff and moved into a van. Then we drove around the whole of Europe. Then we did an amazing hike in Sweden called Kungsleden, which was like the last largest remaining wilderness in Europe. And then that really inspired us to want to live in a cabin. So the closest thing we could get to a cabin in the UK was a narrowboat, which was like a cabin on the water, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then during...
I think we're living like a photographer's dream. You know,
Yes.
You know, a lot of your viewers will be watching this and think, "Oh, amazing! Like we had fairly, normal jobs. You were
Yeah,
a
I
vet
worked at a
nurse,
vet.
and I was a filmmaker and ran a video production company. And we just decided to quit everything and hit the road and just go and just. We had a year initially. We had savings in the bank of like a year to keep us going.
Yeah.
And we didn't know where we were going to go or what we were really going to do, and we just got in our 𝐕𝐴𝑡4 camper. It's quite small, but it had everything that we needed, and we just headed off to Europe and just explored. And
That was the beginning, and we just never really looked back.
then 7 years later we're still
It'll be 7 years this summer.
yeah we're still
Yeah.
going, and it just kind of turned into our jobs, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, currently we're in Portugal, which is where we bought a plot of land in 2017 with a barn on it.
Yep.
That we weren't planning on converting for quite a long time, because we were planning on driving around the world. Our van and us were in the UK last March when lockdown happened. We were just about to ship to Canada.
We were 1 week away from shipping our van all the way to Canada and driving around the world,
Yeah.
and the pandemic happened.
Yeah,
and
the borders closed, we were trapped in the UK, and then as soon as we could get back to Portugal last year, we did, and since then
I think we were
converting
the first
barn.
people over the border in Portugal when it opened. We were ready and raring and waiting, because we had this plot of land and we were stuck in the UK, trapped in a house, which was really weird for us. We
That
were
was
just
the
like,
longest time we've lived in a house.
it's like
since
running
2014.
like warm water, and like
A
I could have a
bath.
bath. It was insane. So that was the kind of nice side of it, but the not so nice side of it, it was tough. Our ad revenue was way down on our YouTube channel. Sponsors weren't. We actually lost some sponsorship that was meant to happen because they pulled all the sponsorship budgets. So it was a pretty grim time being stuck in the UK in a house for like 4 months. So as soon as the borders opened, we were back to our land in Portugal, because we couldn't come back here because we wasn't residents of Portugal at the
No,
time.
because we weren't planning on being here for a while, so
No.
we were supposed to be in Canada.
So now we're building a house.
Well, yeah. So you're building a house. That's what's going on in your channel at the minute. Is you guys are building a house, and that's what I was gonna kind of touch on at the minute. Is like you guys are the definition of kind of living the dream, doing it for yourselves. Your lifestyle isn't funded by wealthy parents or any kind of inheritance. You very much live this lifestyle that is glamorized by Instagram and whatnot. But I feel that you guys are the real deal. Like you've worked so hard for everything you've done, and what you've managed to do is turn your lifestyle and your passion. You've managed to turn that into a full-time income, and that's interesting because I've done the same with landscape photography, and it's all through sharing on YouTube. And I did the same. I quit my job with hardly anything, and you just kind of see how it goes. And I look at where I am now and where you guys are now, and it's still going. And that's, for me, that's a miracle.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And I've always been that kind of type of person to take risks, and I've always got to a certain stage in like a career or a certain type of business that I've started, and it gets to a really good point, and I jump away and I leave and I go and do something else. And I think I'm just that type of person. You're not so much.
No, but we've been sticking to making videos and stuff. This will be our 6th year now,
Exactly.
which is probably the longest you've ever been doing some kind of work thing. And me,
I just love the platform. I love YouTube. It's an incredible platform. It's so good to just share what we're doing, and I watch so much YouTube. It's ridiculous. Maybe the house would be built by now if I didn't watch so much YouTube, but it's just an incredible place, and we were really working as hard as we could to kind of put content out. So we both had full-time jobs, and then, as you know, the workload that goes into YouTube is massive, and to keep it running and keep it engaging.
Yeah,
so we were
any
doing
free
that on the
days that
side.
we had would be YouTube. So there was no time off, and it got to the stage where it was like, we really need to decide one or the other. So
Yeah,
we
you
just
do
thought,
it-
you know what, we'll just fully commit to YouTube.
You're
now.
doing 9 to 5 in your job. You're
No,
doing
it
a 9
was
to
more like 8 till 7 every day.
8 till 7, and then you'd be doing 8 till midnight on YouTube, just hustling so hard to kind of try and make it work, because we saw that we could make a thing of it. And at that time, I think we only had like 10,000 subscribers, didn't we?
Which back then was quite a lot. This is like, what, 2017, I
Yeah,
think?
it's still small, but there was a glimmer of hope there, and we just decided to just quit everything.
So
and
do you
go.
guys, this is funny, this is really interesting, because we are exactly the same in terms of YouTube and making our living and everything. I do it with landscape photography, you guys do it with alternative living. It's funny, I struggle still with the concept that this is my job, and I think I discussed this in the last episode that I recorded of this podcast with Nick Carver, and I want to know if you guys are the same as me. When my grandparents say, "Oh, so what do you do for a living now?" It's so difficult to try and explain that I do YouTube. Because what is your job? I suppose it's different, Theo, because you owned a video production company, so you've kind of taken that video production company and you've turned it around on yourselves, and you're sharing the life that you're living, and then it's a snowball, because the more success you get, the more you can build on that lifestyle, right? But you still need that initial hard work. And the funny thing with YouTube is, man, it takes years. Like I think I got quite lucky when I started my channel, because I got quite a good amount of success fairly early on. I think because there wasn't much competition. But what I've noticed with your guys' channel is, in the past year, you've seen some massive step growth. It's just gone boom, huge. It's sometimes when I see that, I get jealous, and I'm like, ah. But then with you guys, I don't. I just get such like warm feelings. I'm so glad that they're knocking out 100k views, for each video in the first couple of days, and I think you've earned it. I really do. But it's funny, because I always say, no matter what your passion is, now in 2021 or whenever, you can turn that into your full-time job, but it also has to be kind of like a lifestyle and not a job, because I can't switch off at 5 o'clock, man. I'm doing this 24/7.
No. There's no set work hours, basically. It's just 24/7, and it's a weird one, because we always say this is the best job we've ever had. We can't deny it. I love it.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's
Constantly
absolutely
learning.
ridiculous. You do pinch yourself.
Yeah, it is. It's so mad, because we didn't go into this thinking that's what we wanted to do. So it's evolved from a place of just doing something for fun, which I think is probably the best thing, because it means that you always enjoyed it anyway. And you can't switch off, because it is just your life, really.
And the reason we did get into it is because I was bored, essentially. I was in a van. I was travelling around Europe, and it sounds so bad, but I didn't have like a hobby or anything, and my creative outlet was always filming and making films and taking photos. So I decided to just do that, and it sounds cliche, but we did it to show family and friends and what we were doing and what we were getting up to, and and people just started tuning in. You start to see these numbers, and it doesn't feel real, the numbers, I don't think, until you get recognised in the street, and until you meet someone, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, like they're actual people who are watching.
Yeah, I
this.
remember I was in Iceland and I got recognised, and this was early on, and I was still fairly new to being recognised, and a guy asked me to sign his lens cap, right? But he came up to me, he introduced himself, right? And the thing is with me, I'm terrible at absorbing information. So if someone tells me their name, 2 seconds later, I've forgotten it, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
So this guy comes over and he
Same.
says, he goes, oh, my name's such and such. I'm a big fan. Will you sign my lens cap? I was like, yeah, no problem. And instantly I forgot his name. So I thought, I've got a clever trick that I used to use when I was back in school. So I said, oh, okay, how do you spell your name? And I kid you not, he said, Tim. I was like, oh God, his name was Tim. So I look like a right moron. Well, yeah, I forgot your name. Do you guys ever get worried about YouTube in the sense, because you mentioned before about how when the pandemic hit, you couldn't go out, you couldn't film. All of a sudden, you were this nomadic alternative living couple living in a house.
I know.
Right? So your content...
It definitely was scary.
Yeah, your content's just been pulled away from you. And the same happened to me. I'm an outdoor photographer and I can't flipping go outdoors, right? So it's really difficult. But you mentioned that, your trip to Canada was cancelled last minute. You lost sponsorships. Your views were dropping. Like, how much anxiety do you guys get over the dependence of the algorithm and YouTube? Because for me, I feel sometimes I put out my best work and it gets the lowest amount of views, and then I see other videos that are sensationalized or clickbaity, must do this now, and they're getting like hundreds of thousands of views. And I see it with Vanlife stuff especially. You get some ridiculous model in a bikini next to a 1960 T2 or whatever, I don't know, like some old camper van, and you think it's not real, and then you start to think, well, do we need to do that? And I know Theo, you did a bum shot in a thumbnail once. Which I thought was quite funny.
That thumbnail's been removed by YouTube, and they just chose a random. They've removed the thumbnail and replaced it with their own still from the video, which is hilarious. I only realised that a few months ago.
Yeah, we were scrolling through the videos and we're like, hang on a minute, that thumbnail's changed, and YouTube must not like my bum.
It is 100% demoralising when you put loads of effort into a video and you feel like it doesn't get like the recognition it deserves, really. And that, like, you can try as hard as you want for people to watch a video, but because you're posting it on YouTube, which has its own algorithm which is constantly changing, if YouTube doesn't like the length of it, or the fact that people aren't tuning in for it for as long as they should be, and they're not clicking through as much when it's suggested, they're just going to shelve it, and that's really sad. But the hardest part was we were having to make videos in a house when we're like, we've been hyping up driving around the world, and now, hey guys, we're in a house. Like, this is something that we've never shown because we've never lived in a house whilst we've had our YouTube channel.
I've never had so many baths in my life. That part was incredible. That was I'd get stressed, go have a bath, and we used our time differently. We decided to write an ebook about our travels in Scandinavia and put that out, and
it was something that we'd always been planning to do, but as Theo said earlier, because ad revenue slashed and sponsors dropped us, it made us really realise and be aware, even more so than we ever had been, that you can't solely rely on YouTube for an income.
No.
It's just way too
risky.
It is super risky because it can change day by day.
Yeah, I think you need to have other revenue streams so that if YouTube vanished forever, you could still survive. That's the kind of way we look at it. If YouTube vanished tomorrow, we could still make an income.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the way we kind of look at it. But it's such a shame that YouTube is so focused on the thumbnail and the title. And that's why we see so much clickbait.
It is, but I often think that in terms of the long run, so when I make content, I try and make it for people maybe a few years down the line, right? So I don't really do content that's current today because that stuff just dies off instantly. But I often think with clickbait, I don't know this, I don't know the algorithm, I don't look into the algorithm, I never even look at my own analytics, but I imagine if you have this awesome thumbnail and a mega clickbait title, you might on the surface, it might look like that video's had 1 million views, but the likelihood is, unless the content's good, then those 1 million people are going to click on it 20 seconds later, go, nah, this isn't for me, and then they're off. And then that, in the long term, that'll damage the channel, right?
Of course, and if this is your job, like it is both of our jobs, watch time is so important to keep people engaged and keep people on there, because the videos with the most watch time is where you're making the most income.
And I think talking about when we were locked down in the house, it did make us become a lot more, I wouldn't say more creative, it made us think on our feet, because we were like, what would we do? And something we'd been planning on doing. We always have ideas for videos, and sometimes it's like, this isn't the right time to do it because we've got a travel series. Why would we release this specific video now? But one of the videos we released during lockdown period was basically the full van conversion in one video that we'd always wanted to do. It was like an hour long or something.
And I finally got some creative spark to like make this video in a house in lockdown. I'm like, this is going to smash. And this is going to smash, and it bombed.
It totally bombed. It got like 10,000 views in a month. No one cared for it, and it was just a bit like, oh, this is really sad. Like this is the perfect time to do van conversion, and surely people would want to watch it.
It's evergreen, like you said.
It wasn't. Evergreen content is the best, because then about 4 or 5 months later, I don't know why, but it suddenly exploded, and now it's had hundreds of thousands of views, and it constantly is getting watched because it's a useful video.
So was this because I know when you've built out your Sprinter, you did a series of videos. So did you then re-edit it into one big video, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing now, not with van stuff, but I've got, because I can only get out. Oh man, I always have this discussion with everyone I talk to. Basically, from a legal standpoint, right, I can go out and I can travel around the UK and I can work and I can film and I can make YouTube videos, but I worry about public perception. So I don't want to take the piss, basically. I want to go out only when I have to. So what I've been doing is I've been getting my old content and I've been recompiling it into videos. So for example, I released a video a few weeks ago that was called Hiking for Photographers, and I essentially got all of the best, like the highlights of my hiking videos with photography and put them all together with a bit of voiceover to tie it all together and released it. And what I'm kind of hoping is that they are what I call slow burners. So people think, oh, well, I've already seen this. So you don't get the initial boost from your sort of loyal subscribers. But in the long term, because they're so evergreen, ultimately the people will start coming back again. Like, I imagine that's exactly what happened with your van video.
Exactly.
And I'm kind of hoping that's what's going to happen with mine.
I'm sure it will. It is a really good idea. And like, coming back to what you were saying about, going out and taking photographs in a pandemic, the average person's going to look at you with your tripod and your camera and be like, oh, they're disobeying the rules. But it's your job. And like, it was our job when the pandemic first hit and we were in the van in the UK and we were getting death threats.
Oh, yeah.
Come through.
That's why we ended up having a house sit, because it was just so unsafe being in the van, especially because we have a massive logo on the side of it. So everyone's like, who's that? Oh my God, I'm going to send them a death threat, because they're just having a trip up to Scotland, absolute jerk, which is understandable because it was being sensationalised in the newspaper.
It's not understandable to ever
give
people death threats.
No, not that. I'm talking about people being scared and angry because the newspapers were loving anything they could get their hands on, and apparently, which we did see ourselves when we were there, loads of people had chosen the time to self-isolate, even though they had a house, in their camper vans and go off to remote places and ride out coronavirus, which, sounds very romantic and is lovely. Because we'd come back to the UK and we were planning on leaving very fast. We were going straight to Canada, but we got trapped there. And we live in our van full time. None of our family members have driveways that our massive van could fit on. They live like right in the centre of Birmingham, so we couldn't live in our van on the street.
People don't understand how big the van is until they see it in real life.
It's 7 metres basically, so it's huge. So we were like, we're going to go to as far away as we can, where we know we won't get bothered. But yeah,
because it is our only place to live, and a lot of people, we're getting all these messages saying, go home. We don't have anywhere to go home. Our home is in Portugal, and
the campsites were getting closed. People were getting kicked out of the campsite, so you couldn't stay in a campsite. Locals were literally ripping people out of campsites. The campsites were shutting down. Nowhere had anywhere for you to go, and so we managed to get a house sit, which literally saved us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I see this. I followed all of this very closely, actually, because there were a lot of people in the UK, just like yourselves, who live in a van full time. Yeah. And then when the pandemic hit, it's like, okay, well, I don't have a home. This is my home. So what I'll do is I'll be very sensible. I'll park up in this remote area and I'll ride it out for a few weeks. I'll self-isolate. And like you say, the media sensationalized everything. And obviously there was like Project Fear to try and scare everyone. Now, I don't want to get political. I'm not going to give my opinion on COVID or coronavirus or anything like that. But I felt so sorry for the people who were literally trapped in the middle of this. And on the one side, you've got someone who's got nowhere to go. And then on the other side, you've got like the local residents who are scared of outsiders coming in, spreading the virus. So they turn on the people in the vans. I heard stories about death threats, like you've said. I've heard stories about rocks and stones being thrown at vans. Like horrible threats about torching vans, and it's a terrible shame. And I just think I think the pandemic brought out the worst in our society because everybody became very xenophobic.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I've got to say, the only positive that came out of all of that was that a lot of really wonderful, kind people in the UK who saw people that were struggling said, I've got a driveway you can park on,
that was
I've
lovely
got some
to
land
see.
you can park on, and they did save a lot of people. So if you were someone who offered your driveway or whatever, you're an absolute hero. And,
It did feel though like everyone, instead of sticking together, it was kind of like every man for themselves, and everyone was just...
It's
turned
human
into
nature.
Almost like a film.
Yeah.
Do you know, believe it or not, I get this quite a lot. If I go to a location and take photographs and make a video, right? It doesn't happen all the time, but it has happened a few times in the past where I've gone to a location, filmed the video, and then I'll literally get hate mail saying, you know, why are you exposing this location, sharing this location? You know, hordes of people are going to come here now.
Well, that's horrible.
And it's people who have this sense of ownership to this area, this piece of land. It happened in Iceland. I went to a remote area of Iceland, climbed a mountain, took some photographs. I did not say where I was. It could have been anywhere in Iceland. And then this chat starts happening on forums and between people, and I've got a mate in Iceland who was on the forums or in the chat, whatever, and he's like, dude, people are kicking off about your video. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, they're worried it's going to become overrun with Instagrammers and tourists. And I understand it. I do get that because overpopulation of areas has ruined a lot of places. But to take it out on people like me and people like you, it's just hard. So I totally feel for you guys.
Before this, we were in Portugal, in the Algarve, and a guy came to fight me.
A crazy guy.
Right. Oh my God. Right. I tell you what, I'm going to stop my camera for the 30-minute record, and then we'll pick up, because I wanted to talk to you about that. So let's stop recording and carry on. So yeah, you were saying that a guy tried to fight you in Portugal.
He tracked us down through Instagram stories.
A long time ago now.
And so we'd posted some stories of the beach where we were at. And before that, we'd been travelling around Portugal. We were looking for land. And we were just kind of sharing videos about our travels around Portugal and how beautiful it is. And he was just so unhappy with us promoting Portugal.
A particular beach that we'd mentioned that was full before we even got there. It's not as if it was an unknown beach. Bear in mind, it was in the Algarve and it was signposted. It wasn't a secret unknown beach. Everyone knew about this beach. Everyone was there. The car park was always packed. Yeah. And I made the mistake of tagging the location of it in Instagram, which ever since this happened, I've never really done that ever again because it was just not worth the hassle.
Do you know what it is? Tagging locations now is such a hot topic. Personally, I'm against it, not because I think you're doing anything wrong by tagging a location, but if we both have a sizable audience, and it is understandable that if you tag a location that looks good, then an abnormal amount of people are going to go there, as opposed to 20 years ago when you might mention it to your friends and family, whatever, or it's in a guidebook.
Totally.
But people just take things very badly. So what happened?
It was this guy walked up to me with these piercing eyes, and the thing is, I don't think he realised that I was 6'3", so he kind of came up to me and then realised I was quite a big guy, and
So
Yeah,
when he decided to
I had
actually
to- I had
physically
to-
fight, he went and pushed our friend first.
Yeah, he picked my smaller friend who was next to me and started fighting him instead. So I managed to chill the situation out basically.
You broke
and
it
just
up, and then I broke it up.
keep him away from us and just say, look, this is not acceptable.
It was a scary experience because we'd never had anything like that happen before, and then he was threatening our van. Like literally was like, I'm going to get 20 people to come down here and we're going to smash your van up and stuff. And I was just
But
like,
why?
I know,
because
and
apparently,
it's one thing saying it online, and it's another coming and trying to physically harm you.
He was worried that because we'd obviously shared this place, which I'd already removed it and edited it after whatever, he was worried that every single one of our followers, which was 40,000 at the time on Instagram, were going to come down to that beach and visit it, but that would never happen because a lot of our audience is all around the world. They're not necessarily in Portugal or even Europe, so...
He was a nasty man. He was running around the car park screaming racist insults at people, and he was unhinged basically.
Yeah, but thankfully...
And obviously just it had been building up because we'd posted this video or photo a couple of weeks prior, and I think it had been building up over them few weeks, and then he finally found us.
Well, what happened is he commented on it and we just haven't
exploded.
responded because a lot of the time, if you know something's going to be inflammatory, I just
That's
think
it now, isn't it? He commented on our Instagram,
upset.
and instead of us replying to the comment, we just left it because we didn't want to cause a big drama and a big debate.
Yeah, it's always
in
the best thing to do.
Just leave it.
Always leave it. I had to call the police and report a subscriber because I did a video just before Christmas from Lanzarote, right?
Yeah.
Like me and my wife, we had booked a holiday months and months and months and months before, and it kept getting cancelled because of lockdowns and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, fair enough. And then lockdown ended, and a travel corridor opened between the UK and the Canary Islands, which means it's perfectly legal to go there. If the travel companies are struggling, so they're giving you lots of incentives to go, or making it nice and easy for you anyway. But you have to get tested before you go, so it's nice and safe. And then when you get there, there's obviously all of the precautions you need to take, like wearing masks and whatnot. Yeah. So I made a video in Lanzarote, and in the video, it was just me. I'm in the middle of the island. It's raining, so no one's out and about. There's literally miles and miles and miles and miles of space around me, and I'm the only person. And I made one video, and I took a couple of photographs. It was about as innocent as you could get, and I thought nothing of it. And then I started getting a bit of negativity on the video saying you shouldn't travel during a pandemic. And I thought, well, I've done nothing wrong. It's my job, blah, blah, blah. And I just left it. I just thought, well, some people have that opinion and that's fair enough. But one guy said that his parents were isolating in Lanzarote, and that I'm essentially going there spreading the virus, and he said he's going to come to my local beach because I live by the beach and I do a lot of photography at this beach. He said he's going to come to a beach, and if he sees me, he's going to drown me.
Oh my god!
Whoa! I know, and this is so he took it. He took it that I was personally attacking his parents, right?
That's terrifying.
And I kind of get the anger. People are angry at the minute. I get it, I do. But there's certain ways to deal with it, and that isn't one of them. So I thought nothing of it, but I thought I just better check on this guy, right? Make sure that he's not local. So I did a bit of Googling on him, and actually turns out he's local, or relatively local.
Makes it even more terrifying, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that's like, oh god. So I managed to find out who he is, where he works, where the town where he lives, or the village. And I found out quite a lot of information about him. And I was like, oh my god, if I can find out this information about him, he's going to find out 10 times more about me. So what am I going to do? So I just reported it to the police. The police
it's the best thing to
didn't
do.
take it seriously. But the point of doing it was that if he comes back and does something else, then I've got the initial report. So, you have this great idea about YouTube, and we live this lifestyle. There are downsides.
There are definitely downsides, and that is why we keep
we're very private.
where we're located in Portugal so private, because this is kind of like our space. When we're in the van, if you come and knock on the van, we'll happily talk to you. We're kind of in a
Except
public,
for not in a pandemic,
in a public space.
Keep your mask on.
But on the land, it's kind of like, it's the same as if someone came and knocked on your, front door and wanted to chat. You wouldn't obviously like that, and so we keep it as quiet as we can. But the problem is, like, we're growing, and a lot of people have moved out here because of our videos, and every time we leave the land now, we get spotted at least once wherever we go. Even if I'm just nipping, I don't know, to the shop or something, we get spotted. So it's quite hard to keep it, but to the masses of people, we keep our location really quiet.
I feel like we should say at this point that these stories that we've told, they are the minority. 99.99% of people I ever interact with are brilliant. Like everyone I meet in the street, they're all fantastic, and that's really important. So for me, I'm really soft. So these things affect me. You know, if somebody shows aggression towards me, because I'm so cautious with everything I do. I try not to break the law knowingly. I try not to offend people. I don't swear on my channel. I don't go on private land. I don't, you know. So it always really like affects me when people show like pure rage towards me, and I wonder how much of it is just people internalizing all this angry feelings brought on by the media and mass hysteria, and then projecting it at any target that might kind of look like they're causing it. For example, you guys sheltering in your van in Scotland during a pandemic, they think you're on holiday, that sort of thing.
You are right. It's such the minority, the bad stuff, the good, like the amount of amazing comments, the amount of amazing people we meet and have like really long conversations. You know, we're being in the supermarket and an hour's gone by because we're talking to someone who's literally just signed the contract for their land, and they're so stoked. They're so stoked that they've just signed a contract, and they've done it because of our videos, and it's crazy to think that, you know, us filming our lives out here as kind of people are following on our footsteps and, you know, converting their own places and renovating their own places, and it's really nice, and it's really uplifting when we do a video to get all them. You know, we've been through some tricky moments in this barn renovation that we're doing. And to see all the comments just uplifting me and saying like how brilliant I'm doing, it really does help to be like, you know what, I'm going to wake up tomorrow. And I'm really going to, you know, put my all into this because of them comments. It is really nice.
What changed for you guys since March? Because I mentioned it earlier that your channel has kind of just done this, right? This huge step growth, which is phenomenal. And I think, do you think you've tapped into a new audience by buying land and doing these renovations on barns and sort of making a homestead? Or do you think that more and more people are seeking out a totally alternative and different lifestyle because they're just sick of the rat race?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we did buy this property in 2017 and it would get about the same amount of reaction as all our other videos did. But then when we came out here...
we would get lots of comments from people saying, because we said early on, we really want to turn this into our house eventually.
Yeah, people.
And we'd always get comments of people going, I just want to see that.
Yeah.
I just want to see you do that. And when we're here for like 3-month stints at a time, it's like you can't really do much because it's not long enough to get stuck into a project. Then you won't want to leave. So it's having the time to actually get stuck into this. And I think you're right in terms of people are sitting at home and there's a pandemic happening and people want to think about being more self-sufficient, I think. And I think people always dream about building their own home or, creating their own place and escaping the rat race. So I think that's where it's happened at the perfect time. I think it's kind of quite lucky in terms of when it did happen, actually. Yeah,
definitely we have gained a whole new audience who are here for the barn conversion, which is nice to have people who, because it's always a bit scary. We were a bit worried because we were like, obviously we've been prepping to drive around the world and everything's about driving around the world, and
literally,
like, are people going to be gutted that we're now doing a barn conversion? But thankfully people were really interested in it, so
we were hyping that so hard for like a solid year, like right until a week before, and then just everything just stopped. But we had that kind of four months of a rocky time, and then coming here, it just kind of like I think literally every video pretty much since we got here has hit 100,000 views, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's insane. That is incredible, and it's good because I think what you guys do is really wholesome content. And again, it's just pure hard work because you do everything yourself. I mean, you guys blew my mind when the two of you and a cat lived in a T4. And for people that don't know what a T4 is a very, very small camper van.
Yeah.
Which doesn't have a fixed bed, and it doesn't have a shower, and it doesn't have all this stuff. I had a Ford Transit, which I've sold now, but that Ford Transit was about a similar size, and I'd go away for like a week by myself, and I'd be struggling after a week. So the fact that you guys just keep pushing with this alternative living, it's fascinating, and you've got this. I'd say that the two of you have this very much grit and determination, which I think you actually need if you're going to make a life out of your passion on YouTube. Because God knows I've been through enough low points with my channel where, you've just got to push on through the worst of weather, the worst of times. In fact, that's happening right now. But I think you always do seem to come out the other side. And I think you guys are just living proof that if you're passionate about something, you can crack on and you can make it a great success, whether that's photography or if it's alternative living in camper vans, whether it's, sewing or coffee or wood carving, anything. You can make it now your life, and that's exciting.
You've got to persevere. It's not winning all the time, but quitters never win. Cheesy as it is, quitters never win, and winners never
that's
quit.
That's gonna be the title of this podcast. Quitters never win.
Well, we always look at you and we're like, he's putting out 2 videos a week. I wish we could put out 2 videos a week, and I'm like, how is he doing it? And we used to put out 2 videos a week, but they were a lot shorter videos. They were like 10 minutes. And now we do a lot longer, long form content, like 30 minutes videos, and we've kind of changed our style a little bit, and we'd love to put more videos out, but it's just when you're building, literally like physically having to build something and filming it, everything takes like twice as long, especially
because we're building out of stone. It's like heavy stuff.
It's like we're mixing up the cement, and it's like, okay, stop the cement mixer, get this shot, do that again, and it's like, I just want to build.
And that's what I'm going through. I'm going through that right now. It's funny because you mentioned a couple of things there. The main one being filming and building, right? Because I'm doing my van conversion. Like when I'm out doing photography, it's different. I'm kind of used to it now. It's like photography and filming, they're all one. I find it very easy and it very rarely gets in the way. But now that I'm building my van, I hate the video camera. I just cannot be bothered when I'm trying to do
so stressful.
When I'm trying to do something really fiddly, and I'm doing it in I've got a Mitsubishi Delica, which is the smallest van in the world, so I'm trying to get me and a tripod and this and a wide-angle lens, and then I've got to somehow put light in there so you can see this bolt that I'm screwing in under the bed or whatever. Oh, mate, it takes, a 10-minute job takes an hour.
Yeah, the van build situation, filming that was pretty stressful, because it's a new thing for most people as well who are building a van. Like, most people have never really done much DIY in their lives.
Never done it.
I've never done.
You learn
anything, like anything.
Yeah, and you're learning, but you're filming it, and then I've always got it in the back of my mind, like I'm filming everything that I'm doing like new, so I'm learning on camera, and then you got all these comments like, I wouldn't have done it like that, or this is wrong, and I'm like, yeah, but you learned, but you just didn't film it and put it on YouTube.
That's what I said to Theo. I'm like, everyone who's watching these videos, you wouldn't, because you're watching something, you're not going to think about it that way, but it's like we're literally filming doing something for the first time and then sharing it with hundreds of thousands of people, and it's like, if you could let the pressure get to you, but at the end of the day, like, we're just learning as we go. We've never said that we're professionals and what we're doing is 100% the correct way to do things.
My problem is I'm a perfectionist, and building a stone barn as a perfectionist where everything's meant to be a bit rustic, and
higgledy-piggledy.
When you're building with stone, it's meant to be a bit kind of like odd and strange shapes, and I'm like, oh, it looks a bit off, and maybe I can put a block here, and it's just, you have to kind of forget that and just go with the flow and just roll with it.
Yeah.
But I love your
I get that.
I love your van. It's so, I've always had my eye on one of them.
Check this out. I tell you, this is how excited I am about my van. Look what I've bought.
Oh, nice. Yes. They will come in very useful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking we're getting some heavy snow this week, and I thought, what's the point in having a 4-wheel drive van with all the proper tyres? It's going to be embarrassing if I get stuck. I worry that van is going to give me too much confidence, so I've got those recovery boards just in case. But they're only cheapies off Amazon. But it's interesting. You guys, you mentioned before about you wanted to upload twice a week, but they're only short videos, and then you switched to long form content. That's interesting because that's what happened with me. I was doing twice a week for probably about 2 years, and I started to find that I was prioritizing quantity over quality. So I was really just looking for anything to film, an angle on anything, and I thought the content I'm putting out is weak. So I went down to once a week, but concentrated on longer videos. And I think that's good if you're looking at the bigger picture. I think the dream for me is to like upload like once every 3 months or something, but like an epic, like a 1 hour journey across the world kind of thing. That would be amazing. I don't think the algorithm would like that.
Definitely. It's interesting because we put out a poll recently on our YouTube channel on the community page, just saying like, should we do 2 videos a week? And the feedback was really interesting because it was like, although 2 videos a week won in the overall poll, all the comments were like, I'd rather just, if it's going to change the quality, or if anything's going to change, I'd rather just have the 1 video a week and just roll with that.
I think the one piece of advice I give to anyone who's thinking of doing a YouTube channel or has one and is struggling is the best thing to do is to get ahead of yourself if you can. If you can have like a month's worth of content, then when you're filming, you haven't got the pressure of this is coming out on this day and I've only got this amount of days to get it done. Because when we get ahead of ourselves, it's so much more enjoyable to film because we know we're like, oh, if there's a crap day of weather, it's all right if we take a day off filming because it's not going to impede it, and we've got time.
But at the moment, we're not that at all. We can't get because we're having to build, and building with stone is such a slow process. It's like sometimes you'll film a video and it's almost like nothing's happened, and so then you have to keep filming, and by the end of the week it might be that we're finishing it off on like Saturday night and it comes out on Sunday, and then Monday morning you're back like trying to come up with a concept of what to film.
So now you're not going to be able to do Canada, or it's very unlikely you'll be able to do Canada this summer. I think we mentioned this whilst chatting in WhatsApp, but what's the plan? Because I imagine Portugal gets quite hot during the summer. Are you guys going to go on a trip?
The summers here are brutal. We were here last summer we got here on the 1st of July.
40
and it
degrees.
was like 40 degrees every day. The coldest it ever got at night was 21 degrees.
Oh, it was brutal, absolutely brutal. So this summer,
it was horrible.
We're escaping in the van, and hopefully we'll have the barn pretty much completed by then. Obviously, when we get back from the trip that we're going to do, there'll be still more things to add to it, and extensions and all sorts of ideas that we got going on. But we're thinking we're gonna go back to the UK, get our MOT, and then hopefully, travel permitting, head back to Scandinavia because
head back to the Nordics.
It's our favourite place.
That's what I was hoping.
It's our favourite place.
Because this is what I want to do. I've had such a frustrating, miserable year, as has everybody. By the way, we're not special, but I feel like imprisoned in my own home. I hate it. Normally by now I would have travelled or at least had the opportunity to go somewhere inspirational or just break up the monotony of kind of everyday life at home. So as soon as we're able to, I've got the van that's going to be built out. I really want to drive. I want to do like a big road trip up to the Arctic Circle, Scandinavia, so Finland, Norway, Sweden. I want to take the camera. I want to take the drone. I want to take. Look at this. I've got my massive film camera.
Wow.
This is like a giant panoramic camera. I want to take this and dedicate the trip as only to this camera, just as a project. I've got so many exciting things I want to do, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to. So if we do get our lockdown is relaxed and everything, and we can cross borders and travel, dude, we have to meet up in Scandinavia and convoy.
Definitely. What an incredible place to test out your vehicle as well. It's some of the places you can park up there is unbelievable, and that's where I kind of fell in love with landscape photography, and that's where I started basically. I mean, what a place to start landscape photography. It's it makes your life pretty easy.
Yeah, the opportunities in Scandinavia. I mean, you've got the open, vast landscape, but you've also got the mountains and the fjords. But what I want to do more than anything is get a photograph of my van next to your van. Mine looks like this tiny little keyring, whereas yours is like this huge long wheelbase Sprinter.
Does it look like our van will have burped it out?
Yeah. I was going to say, what I've missed more than anything since March 2020 is spending time with people. That camaraderie that you get. I don't necessarily like shooting with other people because I feel it's a very...
I'm the same.
But
yeah,
the afterwards.
I'd love to go out shooting with you and know that I'm not going to get a shot, because I'll probably end up just chatting to you. Like in your last or your last video that you were talking with Nick, and you were saying, worried if you're going to get in someone's way. And I've been there before with shooting with other people, and it just doesn't work for me. But it's good fun to do it, but you just got to know that you're probably not going to get the shot as if you were on your own.
Yeah, but what I want to do is I want to be like, get up, go and shoot, and then come back to camp, get a fire going, get the drinks going, just enjoy being in the outdoors. It's so good for you. Like there is nothing, and I mean this, there is nothing better than just being outside on a still evening when the temperature's nice, you can hear the birds, you can hear the water. Like, it's so good for your mental health and your physical health, and just being outside
and like as you know, Scandinavia is set up for that, isn't it? It's like they, the amount of places we pull up and we're like, oh, there's a shelter with free firewood ready to go.
Being
and it's
outdoors
just like,
is actively encouraged throughout the Nordics, definitely.
It's incredible. They provide all these amazing facilities in the middle of nowhere, and you won't see another person.
It's funny. I feel like in the UK, being outdoors is not actively... It feels in some places like it's discouraged, and that is so bizarre to say. But I went to Finland, right? And in Finland, you've got the national parks, and you've got designated camping areas with firewood and an axe, an actual axe, right? That nobody steals.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Whereas in the UK, it's like private, no parking, no camping, stay, don't go here, don't go there. And the campsites in the UK are just awful. I mean, there are some good ones, right? To be fair, there are some good ones, but the most of them are just a field with a toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
exactly, a portaloo. No, it's the last big trip that we did in Scandinavia, we spent a lot of time in Finland, and we want to go back to Finland and explore more.
We want to do more of northern Finland.
More northern Finland, and we saw bears and all sorts of things there, and it was incredible. And you'll have like a car pull up and you're like, oh, it's a warden. And you're like, are you going to get told off? And then they drop off the free firewood. And you're just like, what is this place? Like, how is this even a thing?
Yeah, it's worlds apart. The fact that they encourage nature so much out there it's just so different to here, which is a great shame. I mean, it's not all bad here, to be fair. There's a lot of good work going on. But like, for example, I went to my local nature reserve 2 days ago. Beautiful nature reserve, nice woodland, nice reed beds, nice lakes, big sign on the gate saying closed due to COVID. And I was like, what? It's a nature reserve, like the parks are open. Why? And it just felt like too much management. I don't know. Again, I don't want to get political, but to me it just felt off. I'm just gonna hit record and stop again. Sorry. Quick question about your van that I meant to ask this. When I'm building my van, I am suffering a little bit from GAS, which is gear acquisition syndrome. So with your camper van, how much of the cool spec is necessary, and how much have you just put in there because it just looks awesome, and you because I noticed you've got this well, obviously you've got really good tires, which I think you need. You've got the snorkel, and the inside is kitted out beautifully. And I'm going through this at the minute. I'm getting stuff that I think I won't need that, but I might need it. And I've kind of admitted to myself that I just want it to look badass. That's it.
We're kind of similar, that we wanted it to look badass, but ours is actually a 2-wheel drive Sprinter. So we've modded it.
People think it's a 4-wheel
The
drive.
best thing you can do with a van, I think, is put really decent tyres on it, and you want lift. clearance for when you are off-roading, because we do a ton of off-roading in this, and them things you've already got, I believe. Good tyres, and you've already got the lift. It's a 4x4, and then you can go to town, can't you, and start adding snorkels. The snorkel for us was more to do with driving around Portugal and the dust in the summer.
Right.
If you've got a snorkel, it obviously takes the clean air from higher up than taking it from lower down. It gets really dusty.
I mean, I love your van. I like the Sprinter is the ultimate dream. I haven't got anywhere to keep one, but what I would say is that you guys, like, you really use your van. You know, like, you're not like
sometimes too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like me. I know that I won't push that vehicle to half of what it's capable of. But you guys, like, you really travel the world. Literally, you're driving through Canada in that thing. So. It's going to be awesome. We have been
shocked, actually. We've shocked ourselves from some of the places that we've taken this. Even in Portugal,
do you ever get worried? Do you ever get anxious? Do you ever get in situations where you think, oh crap, I don't know we can get up that hill?
Yeah, there was this one road in Spain, and I'm not thinking about the really muddy one. Okay. The one where we were overlooking that really big lake. It was really nice, quite high up.
Yeah.
What I get scared of is, and it's just me, when you're going down a lane and you're like, it's fine right now, but is it going to get crazy further on and there's nowhere to turn around, and that has happened, and you just have to commit.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm just going to commit. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's on the other side of this hill.
Yeah. 7 metre long vehicle. You have to commit. There's no way you're going to turn around on a lane. You have to just keep going and hope for the best.
That did happen in Norway when we were going over a mountain pass that it was November, so I was aware that obviously some of the roads do shut, a lot of the mountain passes. And this one,
that was the most stressful time in a van.
It was scary.
100%.
We were leaving 𝐴𝐴𝐤𝐴𝐺𝐵𝐴. I probably pronounced that wrong. And we didn't want to go back the way we came, so we started going over this mountain pass. I checked the road network. It said it was all clear. It wasn't closed. So I was like, okay, we'll go up there. And then it was a little bit snowy. We were like, oh, this is fine. We're okay with that. And then it started to turn into like compacted snow and ice. And you're like, okay. But there was nowhere to turn around anyway. Our van is very big. It was a small track, basically.
And if you did turn around, you had to get like 2 ferries to get to the same place.
Yeah.
Just going over this little mountain.
Yeah. So we ended up committing to this road. And if we'd stopped, we would have just not been able to start again, and it just went on and was getting worse and worse.
I'm just like that.
So snowy.
Don't talk to me, babe. I'm in the mode. I'm in the zone.
Yeah, so
and just kept driving and like
keep calm, really.
And you have to know how to drive as well.
Yeah, I was good. What precautions do you take?
So obviously we've got. I would have felt very uncomfortable if there was a lot of traffic there, but there was like no traffic at all. So it was like the only people that were in danger was us and obviously the cat.
And knowing things like tyre pressures, to drop your tyre pressure down if you need to. You've got your tracks, they're amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And the tyres were gripping nicely.
Keeping in the right gear at all time and not accelerating too hard so that you can keep the traction. Because I had no traction the whole time I was on that thing. There's nothing we could do. It was pure ice.
Yeah, snow chains would have been ideal, but there wouldn't have been anywhere to stop to put them on anyway.
Exactly.
And because we weren't planning on being there for any longer, we didn't actually have any snow chains.
But once we got over that mountain, I was like, wow, this is a very capable vehicle. You know, it's only a 2-wheel drive, but I think the modifications that we have made for it really, really made it, you know, go as far as we could take it.
Having the vehicle at a heavier weight also is very helpful when you're driving on snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. My biggest concern is going out. Let's say I like drive to Scandinavia and I go to the wilderness, and then I wake up the next morning, nothing. Like, can't start the vehicle. No phone service. I'm like, I don't know. I just have this this fear because I think it's just because I don't have many mechanical skills. That is something I'm trying to fix. I'm trying to learn. But yeah, that's a worry.
But luckily, you got half a million people on YouTube who are willing to help you out.
But yeah, I'm thinking about getting myself one of those Garmin devices where you can actually use satellite messaging, and then that would
that's a good idea.
Then you could just message home and say, "I'll call the breakdown service. I'm stuck at this GPS coordinate." I guess that's only a concern because I'm by myself. I suppose it's different because you two have each other, which must be quite nice.
Yeah.
On your own,
Exactly.
it's different, obviously, because you don't have someone else that you can rely on. Like, if for instance, the van did break down and we didn't have much signal, one of us could walk off and see what happens, maybe bump into someone, I don't know.
And one device you need to get 100% is a 4G or 5G booster for your van.
I thought they were illegal. Am I making that up?
No, they're not illegal. They're perfectly legal. Motorhome Wi-Fi is the company who makes ours, and it's incredible.
I'm writing this down.
I think there was our last Scandinavian trip. All the wild places we went to, we didn't have signal for one night.
Really?
Yeah, only one night we didn't have signal.
Yeah, like every other time we were like perfectly fine, uploading YouTube videos, everything.
Is it one of those things where you have like an aerial on your roof and it boosts your signal that way?
It's like it doesn't look like an aerial. It's like a round.
Yeah, it's like a
that.
flat dome. Kind of almost looks like a shark's fin. The new one. It's really nice.
We have it bolted onto our roof rack.
And incredibly easy to fit as well.
Yeah.
So you could do it yourself, no problem.
Okay. We should probably have this conversation off camera. I'm just curious. So the 4G booster, is it literally, it connects to your phone and boosts the signal, but like a massive powered aerial, or do you have to get a plan with it? How does it work?
No, so it's got its own
SIM
modem.
only,
You've got your own little modem. It plugs into that.
You can use any SIM card.
You can use any SIM card in it, and
at the moment we
and it works like just a normal Wi-Fi.
I
like
don't
you'd
know
have in your
whether
house.
Brexit's going to impact it, but touch wood, it hasn't so far. But we use Voxy SIM in it because you get unlimited data for £30 a month.
Right, I get you. So you've got to you put a dedicated SIM card in the booster. And then it's almost like a Wi-Fi dock, and then you can get your laptop, connect to the booster.
Yeah.
Got you, right.
10 things connect to it.
Yeah,
and I think
I've got
it's
a blog
meant
post
to.
about it on our website if you want to check it out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's meant to boost the signal by like 4 times, and it really works. It's incredible.
Well, I'm definitely going to get one of them for the van, and I'm so excited about everything. And I really, really hope that we can meet up in Scandinavia and just convoy for a few days. Maybe we could try and shoot some bears with a camera, obviously, not with a gun. I've got to be careful on this channel because I'm always referring to shooting things. But yeah, if we can make that happen, I'm desperate for a bit of adventure. But yeah, guys, I'm going to have to end it here. But it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. What I'll do is I'll do the ending now. Everybody go and subscribe to Theo and B's channel. They've got a great channel. Lots of van life, lots of off-grid living. And it just goes to show, I think you guys are a great example that you can do anything you want to. You can make it happen with hard work and just living the dream, just going for it. And I think you're a great sort of asset to the online community. Is that right? Is that a bit cheesy?
Thank you. That sounds lovely. Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It's been a pleasure, and I'm hoping that we'll have a collab video maybe sometime in summer. That'd be great if we can make that happen.
I'm down, definitely.
Right, so guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Easy. Ciao.
All right, there we go.
Cut.
All right, so there you go. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. They're a great couple. Like I said just before, go and subscribe to their channel. Next week is the beginning of my van conversion series. This is something I've never done before. This is not a van life channel, so don't worry. It's just lockdown. The van's on my drive, so it's just it's lockdown content basically is what I'm trying to say. But the conversion is you know what I mean? I think I got a bit carried away. So I'm going to release a few videos of me building out my Mitsubishi Delica, and that all starts next week. So make sure you tune into that, and hopefully at the end of the build, it's going to be about 4 episodes. At the end of those 4 episodes, it's going to climax in a road trip. I don't want to tempt fate. It might not happen. It's out of my hands. But that's the plan going forward. So yeah, stay tuned for that. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If you like the video, like it, and all that good stuff. And thank you so much for watching. It's been a long one. I will see you next time.